All right, welcome back to another recording of Pencil Leadership. I am your host, Chris Anderson. Another exciting guest, guys. I love having these guests on the show. We're super blessed for who we're able to put on the show for you guys to learn from, so I can learn from as well. And today is no different. Guys, today we have a retired police commander who's had over 2 decades of experience in different roles. He also is a professor teaching next generation of criminal justice professionals. He has many degrees in business and organizational leadership. He's also a former Army Paratrooper with the elite 82nd Airborne Division. And so he's an active supporter of military members and veterans. On top of that, experience keeps going. He's a personal coach, a speaker, the host and creator of CJEvolution, which is Criminal Justice Evolution. He's got one of the top-ranked criminal justice podcasts. And he's also the author of Evolve. It's a collection of routines, habits, and advice to take charge of your life and be your best self. So we have Patrick Fitzgibbons on the show today.
Hey, thank you for letting me come on your great show, Chris.
No
I appreciate it. Honored to be here, brother.
Absolutely. We're honored to have you. And so before we dive into, we're going to be talking about creating like a correct mindset for success today. And with your background in leadership and law enforcement and the military and even teaching as a professor, excited to dive into that. But first, would love for you to kind of share as much as you want with the audience about your journey and what's brought you to CJEvolution.
Oh, thank you again for being here, brother. It's an honor. Thank you for letting me have you on your wonderful show. Well, you know, I wish I had some great tale of, some, downtrodden childhood or something like that. But I grew up, had great family and loving family and was very blessed growing up. I decided at one time to go into the military. I didn't take the traditional route and go to college right after high school. I worked on a cruise ship for a while.
Oh, wow.
And then as a young teenager, and then I got done with that. And I still really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I come from a family of military. And my dad was a lawyer in the military in the Army for many years, which is a JAG officer. And, at about the really old age of 21, I decided to go into the Army and pursue a route that my dad did, except I didn't go to law school or anything. I did the smart thing, and I was jumping out of perfectly good airplanes with the 82nd Airborne down at Fort Bragg. And I did that for a while and developed leadership skills and teamwork skills and all that stuff. And when I got done with the military, I had a young baby and my wife in tow, and we came back to Colorado. I knew I wanted to get into law enforcement because I have a family of law enforcement officers, mainly in Chicago. And so I chose that route, and 23 years later, I had a great career, retired, as you said, as a commander, a patrol commander. And just a great ride up and down, like any profession, but really had a great ride. And you mentioned the podcast, Criminal Justice Evolution, CJEvolution. And I retired in 2019, but I wanted to continue to give back to, not only military personnel, but, the brave men and women who protect us every day in law enforcement. It's been a fun ride, brother. And I'm busy. You were naming off all that stuff. And I was like, God, I mean...
Right. Yeah. You got a full plate still and you're retired, which is awesome. Stay busy, right?
Yeah.
No, so I've always been big into World War II. I've loved just that era. My grandpa was in there back then. And so the 82nd Airborne, the 101st and the 82nd there and Band of Brothers. I think at one point I almost had the movie quoted. I quote it all and just really like that. And just fascinating.
A lot of history.
Yeah. I thought about going the military route, but I broke a vertebrae in high school. So I had surgery after that. So it kind of nixed that path pretty quickly, pretty easily. Yeah. So, but a lot of respect for the military and the police for sure. So my grandpa, actually, he was going to go and be a lawyer after being in the Navy. He was mind blank. He watched the weather. He was a meteorologist in the Navy. So during some of their battles over in the Pacific, and
I bet you hear stories
going back and forth. I forget which islands and stuff, but so it was neat to hear about that. So cool connections there. But I'm excited to kind of get your perspective and your just knowledge on building the successful mindset, the correct mindset for success. So Is that part of kind of what you do with CJEvolution in your coaching?
Exactly, brother.
Okay.
I coach a lot of law enforcement, some military,
Gotcha.
but a lot of law enforcement. And, law enforcement, and I tell this to everybody, law enforcement is one of those, it's kind of like a toxic environment. I mean, it really is. I mean, I'm not saying everybody in law enforcement is toxic or negative. I'm just saying it's kind of a negative environment because of the nature of the job.
Right.
And so, that's going to take a toll on you at some point. I mean, we're all human, obviously, and you can only see so much trauma and sadness, human suffering without it, affecting you at some point in your career. But so, I coach. I coach law enforcement, other people to develop that proper mindset. I love, talking about mindset because it is so essential to develop. And again, there's different mindsets. I'm talking about the proper mindset, and that is, cultivating that. Your mind is a garden. Whatever you plant, it's going to grow. So if you're thinking negative thoughts all the time and you are just ticked at the world and life and everything, that's what the world's going to give you. That's what the universe is going to give you. So I help people within my profession or former profession. I talk about this a lot on my shows. And I just want to continue to give back to the brave men and women who protect us every day in the awesome profession that was good for me for so many years.
For sure. And I love that. And I'm actually a part of an organization on the board of, it's a marriage organization, and they have it's called Bonded by Blue for police officers and their marriages. So it's a faith-based, but just helping them kind of grow and hinder. So I know the importance. And so with that, how do you kind of guide these individuals, these police officers, these former military, into building this proper mindset?
Well, it's like anything else, brother. I mean, it's okay. What's the root cause? I mean, digging deep into, somebody's background and, really, really trying to understand what they're suffering with and what they're struggling with. I mean, and it takes courage, to get people to admit that they're unhappy or, they're negative and things like that. But it's really, quite simply getting to the root causes. Not, everybody's different. Everybody has, different problems that they struggle with. But again, having an honest discussion with themselves. And what I usually do before we start is, I send them a series of questions, and to dig deep to give me a better understanding of what they're suffering with and what they're struggling with. And then it's just building on that. And then it's giving them tools, teaching them that they don't have to stay in a toxic environment if they don't want to. They don't have to stay in relationships that are toxic and stuff like that. Because too many times, brother, I think a lot of us, we just kind of put up with toxicity in our life because that's what we're conditioned to do, some of us. And we, especially with like family and close friends. I mean, so it's giving them those tools to develop, again, that proper mindset. But I'm just here to give you the tools that I've learned over the years, but you have to do the work, as a client. So, but, life is short, man. You shouldn't, mindset is everything. I mean, I didn't believe that a lot, throughout my career. I was negative, but it really is everything. And you can cultivate the proper mindset. It just takes time.
I agree. I think a lot of it starts in the mind, and a lot of it even starts in what we allow into the mind. Like we're like, well, I listen to this music, but it doesn't affect me. Like more than you think it does. Like, and all the negativity on the news, and like you're having in the background, even just hearing it subconsciously, like it's still feeding that beast almost, that negativity. And I think the mindset, a lot of it starts right there with that root cause. And you mentioned tools. So what kind of tools do you give, or do you have that help people, if they're willing to take action with them, start cultivating that?
Well, I just give them a series, I just give them, there's different phases in my coaching, and I give them exercises along the way. And one of those is doing an assessment of who you surround yourself with. Yeah. Like we were kind of alluding to that, Chris. I mean, who you surround yourself with is, Jim Rohn famously said, if you know who Jim Rohn is, and your listeners, a very famous person, super successful, but very wise. And he said, you're the average of the 5, people you surround yourself with. So one of the tools I give it's simple. Just, okay, who is your tribe? Who's your crew? Who is you within your inner circle? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Because that is going to directly influence how you live your life and your happiness level or your negativity level. So that's a tool. I just give them, hey, I want you to do, and I usually call it a person assessment or a people assessment of who your 5 are, or who your 10 are. And it's quite revealing when you think about it. If your listeners have never done that, I'd encourage you to do that. If you're surrounded by people who are lifting you up and not bringing you down, great. But there's a lot of people who aren't, and that's that's a simple tool to do right off the bat, because that is there's a direct correlation between your success and happiness and your mindset with who you are spending your time with.
Yeah, that's a great point and a great one to start with, I think. And you can almost, they're like, oh no, the people I surround myself, it's not that big deal. But if you think about it, it's almost like if you were to have 5 habits in your life, and like one's over drinking and one's not exercising and whatever, all these other negative ones, like those 5 negative habits are going to deteriorate your health and your well-being. And the same thing with people and your mindset, because they feed into that. So that's another way you could look at it. Yeah.
And you mentioned my book, Evolve, brother. And that is, that's a big chunk of my coaching platform. And Evolve is an acronym.
Okay,
so the E stands for elevate. Elevate your mindset, elevate your thoughts, elevate to a different level that you're at right now. Again, if you're at that level, more power to you. But there's a lot of people who aren't. So V is visualization. You have to visualize, and you have to see yourself getting that promotion or getting that job or whatever. It takes action. I mean, everything is predicated in action. But visualization is a very, very powerful tool. The science backs it up. Others is the O. Others, who you're surrounding yourself with. It's so critical. I never really got this, a lot when I was younger, but the older I got, more wiser I got, I started realizing that, okay, I need to surround myself with people, the right people. Not that I live in a bubble and don't have bad days. Everybody does.
Right.
But again, it's so important that, you surround yourself with, the right people. The V is victories every day. You have those victories, this goes back to gratefulness. You're alive, celebrate that victory. You have great relationships, celebrate your health. You have victories every day. You should be celebrating that. I believe.
Yes. Agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah. In E, I missed L. I'm sorry.
I was gonna go back.
L is love yourself. If you can't love yourself, how do you expect to love anybody else? I mean, it's not narcissistic to really love yourself. I mean, because again, you've heard of that old thing, Chris, where you're on a plane, the oxygen mask falls down. It's overused, but I'm going to use it anyway. Who are you going to put the mask on first? You're going to put it on you, right? Yep. As first responders, and I tell clients this all the time, we're really, really good at running into that door, or running into that building and saving and, and solving problems. But we have a hard time, not everybody, but a lot of people, and I was one of them, first responder, have a hard time taking care of themselves and loving themselves.
Yep.
So L is love. V, like I mentioned, is, victories. And E, every day be your best self. And so, bring your A game. As much, the older I got, when I was at work and, was having a bad day, I still brought my A game. I still felt, I had that positive attitude, because the people who, my subordinates, people I'm in charge of, they're going to look at me. They're going to model that behavior, especially in law enforcement and military. So every day, and it doesn't just, stick to law enforcement. It's any job you have. Just bring your A game all the time.
And I agree. I think this can definitely correlate to really anything in life that we're doing, like elevate, like you said, just getting yourself to the highest level. Like always, I try to tell people 1% better every day. Like just try to elevate to that next level. And that doesn't have to be some crazy accomplishment. Just one thing, just constantly improving. And with the V, the visualization, that was something newer. This about a year ago really started to dive into as well. And man, it is crazy.
So powerful.
Yeah, so powerful. And I know at first it's like, it's hard. It's different because you're like, so I'm just imagining like what I want. And there's so much more to it, but it really is so powerful. Like what you can kind of manifest in your mind, and then actions come to get to that.
Well, think about it. Your subconscious, your subconscious mind, which does a lot more than people know, whenever and again, it takes action. All this is predicated on action. You can't just sit, you can't visualize $1 million in your lap and it's going to suddenly materialize.
Right.
You have to put in the work and the action. And I always stress that, but it is so powerful. Like you said, the more visualization you do, the more your subconscious mind is going to push you in that direction, believe it or not.
Yeah.
The action that you need to create anything you want. And it takes practice. It takes practice. It takes discipline. Goal setting is another thing I talk about with clients. You have to establish goals, short-term, mid-term, long-term, very important. I encourage my clients to journal, write things down. I mean, it's easy. I can't remember anything. I'm getting old. I can't remember a lot of stuff, so I have to write things down. But it's powerful too you're visualizing what you've written down. So it's very, very powerful to put your thoughts down on paper.
Yeah, and that's, I think, one of the, like, a simple thing people can start implementing is just that small amount of time in visualization, just to start changing that mindset up, and then those actions will come from that. But that's such a huge thing. These are all good things. I mean, others, yes, we talked about our circle and those people. Loving yourself, that's a good one, and that too was one of my hard ones. Just even early on in my journey, and I always use the acronym, or not the acronym, but the story. It's like, you're a cup, and if you're empty, you can't pour into anyone else. So you have to fill your cup first so it can overflow and you can pour in other people's lives. And so it's so important though. And first responders, like you said, they do have a hard time, I think, in a general sense, taking care of themselves first, because they're always wanting to help and give.
I know. I struggle with that for years, with, taking care of myself. My relationships were suffering because I was depressed a lot. I was angry. I went through all the emotions. But again, that's stuff within my control. Look, you can't control a lot of things in life, but you can control the 6 inches between your ears. Your thoughts are so powerful, and your thoughts are going to manifest into things. They're going to manifest into action. So it's very important that we cultivate good thoughts every day, that we put that positivity into us. Action, you have to do action, which is very important. But it will change your life. And one of the things I encourage people to do, and you probably know this, Chris, is you have a gratitude practice. You have to have a gratitude practice, whatever that is. Every day before my feet hit the floor, I am thanking God. I am thanking whoever the universe is to you, and whatever, God, Allah, whatever your faith is. You have to. I just thank God that I'm alive. I have my health. I have my beautiful wife, my family. I'm breathing. So when people say, "Well, I have nothing," I'm nothing in my life. You're alive.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that starts with there. You're alive when somebody else, unfortunately, didn't wake up.
Yep.
So when you start looking at it from that perspective, that can really. It will change your life, and you start practicing gratitude. It gets into a habit, and it's changed my life.
Yeah. And that's one big thing I talk with people about, is just the gratitude. If you continually just talk and focus on what's not going right, quote unquote, then you're going to keep having that. Yeah, exactly. So switch that to just for anything. And like you said, I said, it's as simple as breathing. Like, you're still breathing. You woke up. You have a bed to wake up in. Like, it doesn't have to be some, I made $1 million today. Just little things, and it just compounds.
Yes, of course.
Everything compounds on itself.
Compounding interest. It just builds and builds and builds. I don't know if you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is. Successful entrepreneur. I'm a big fan of him. And I remember seeing a speech he did, and don't quote me on the exact number, but it was something like, I don't know if you know what I'm about to say. He said, he got on stage and he said, I want to tell you guys something, all the audience, 40 billion to 1. And people are like, what's this guy talking about? That's the chances of you being born. Now, I don't know statistics if that's the right number. I should have done some research, but it's something like that. It is so crazy to think that we all take for granted. Most of us take for granted being here right now. I do sometimes, but when you really start thinking mathematically, it is such a shot in the dark that you're even here. Yeah. So why waste it? Why waste it? Living in fear or being irritated and mad and stuff like that. So. Yeah.
And that's with that gratitude, like implementing it just from a personal experience. Like, I don't enjoy doing dishes at all. And so that was getting me frustrated. I was like, I got to do more dishes, blah, blah. And so I shifted just a little. I was like, I'm grateful that I had food to make these dishes dirty. I'm grateful I had dishes to eat on. And now it's just okay, I get to do dishes, get them done. And it's just that little simple chore. It really just changed that. And I think, looking at the probability of being born.
Yeah, it's just
and
crazy.
we're here. Yeah.
Well, and even in times like now, look, everybody's, with COVID and everything. I mean, people are bummed. I mean, there's a lot of, despair out there. But again, you got to look at, the bright things right now. I'm on your great show, Chris, right now with technology. Technology we didn't have, 15 years ago. I mean, there's so many things to be grateful for, in your life, but it starts with yourself. And like I said, I really emphasize people that you're surrounding yourself with, because that is core, in my opinion. That is so central to where you want to go in your current state of mind right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because if you're around people that are constantly just talking about the negative news or
turn off the news, turn off your phone,
if they're
take
just
a walk, read a
complaining,
book.
It'll wear on you.
Yeah, it does. And I every day I have like an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours of like a digital detox.
Oh, awesome.
Because I have a business, you have a business, you have to be on there. But I just put my phone down for like an hour or two a day, and I'm just going to recharge. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to read a book, something positive, and that really helps recharge my batteries. Yeah,
implementing those sessions of just whatever it is. Like I'm in Indiana right now, and in Colorado, you understand, it gets a little bit colder in this time, and so I usually would just go walk outside, go take care of the chickens, get out of just to get away from it. And so I think that's a crucial part. But with what if you have someone who comes to you and they're really struggling, like to find their place, and they're a first responder, or they're retired, or they're in the police force or whatnot, and they're just struggling with getting this routine down to start elevating and evolving themselves?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, it's digging deeper. What are you struggling with? And just having that honest discussion with yourself. And then just instilling to them, this cracks me up with first responders. I love them, brave men and women.
Yeah.
But again, they're so good at, taking care of everybody else, but they have a hard time kind of, okay, this is what I'm struggling with. For the first thing, I tell them is, okay, what exactly are you struggling with? I mean, what, and a lot of times it's a matter of trying to extrapolate that, because they know they're struggling. They just can't put it into words. So it's a matter of pulling that out of them, which is the hardest part sometimes, is getting, an admission that they're struggling, or maybe depression, whatever. And then getting that out of them. And then it's giving them, again, the tools and the advice and the coaching and the mentoring to get them their compass turned in the right direction. Again, everybody has the power. There's no secret sauce. There's no secret magic to coaching or mentoring or talking to people. It's just giving them that inspiration and motivation to open up their mind and do great things. And everybody has the solutions inside of them.
Yeah.
That's the good thing about coaches and mentors. It's a matter of, imparting, wisdom and experience that got me through my difficult times. Yeah. And again, a lot of it I already talked about is really doing a people inventory in your life. Who you're around. I mean, why are you thinking these negative thoughts? Digging deep. A lot of the stuff that we stress about, believe it or not, you probably know this, Chris, it's deep rooted. It's childhood stuff that we were conditioned with. I mean, things like that, where I was never good enough. Well, who told you that? Well, my dad. Okay, well, you are good enough, and kind of reprogramming and rewiring, that brain to really believe that you can do anything you want.
Absolutely.
So
and I it's so like with Pencil Leadership and with my coaching and stuff, it's really I love drawing out the potential in people, like letting them, when they it finally clicks and they realize, like, holy cow, like I'm meant for so much more. Like I have so much potential in me now. Like all that false narrative, those lies just kind of fall off. Like that's so cool, because we were all created with such potential, and so many people miss out on that because of fear, or because of the conditioned nature that we've been through. And so, it's digging into that and finding that root cause is a critical process.
And one of the things that you mentioned, fear, one of the things I tell people when I talk to them is, a lot of the things that we fear, two things: either they don't come to fruition, and if they do, they're much smaller. They're not that big of a deal than we created in our minds. Does that make sense? So I had a tendency earlier on to make mountains out of molehill. And, I was so afraid to do this or do that or go for that promotion. I was so terrified. But it's again, if it does come to fruition, it usually isn't as big as I envision it in my mind. So that's the one thing.
Right.
That's some advice right there with fear.
Yep.
Fear can be crippling. I mean, look around you right now. Look around you right now. We have two sides of the fence. We have people, and I'm not saying I don't want to get into a COVID discussion that much, but
right.
COVID is real.
Yeah.
But you have people who are just scared to death to go out of their home, and then you have the opposite side where people are saying, "Okay, I'm not scared of this. I'm going to do what I have to do to protect myself and others, but I'm not going to live in fear."
Right.
So, I mean, what is different from those people than the people who are hiding under their tables?
Yep.
Because it's all how you're conditioned. It's all how you were raised. It's all how people you're surrounding yourself with.
Yep. No, that's a great point. I think and I always heard this quote with fear, and I've said it multiple times, so people probably get annoyed with me saying it all the time, but the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. I love that quote.
I love
it. Whenever there's anything that I've been scared to do and I finally ended up just kind of doing it, like it always turned out well. Even though if it didn't turn out how I wanted it to, something positive still came from it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the key, I think.
Yeah, and look at any successful person out there, and you know this, Chris, and hopefully your listeners do too. They had to face their fear to become successful.
Yeah,
they had to face failure. Bill Gates didn't wake up one day and say, "Well, I'm a billionaire. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to face fear. I didn't fail." No, any successful person has to face their fears.
Yep.
And has to face failure.
Yeah,
and get up and forge ahead.
Yeah,
I had the benefit of being in the military, a very tough unit, and that's just how I was raised. That's how I was conditioned and trained. Not that I had bad days and stuff, but failure is not an option.
Yeah.
Where I come from in the law enforcement community and in the military, it just wasn't an option. You get up back on the horse and you go again.
Yep.
You get knocked down, you get up and go again. So that's facing your fear, and that's facing failure.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like when people, they make, like you said, mountains out of molehills. And if they could just realize they're scared to maybe fail, that maybe they're scared to succeed, but like getting through that, what's on the other side of that is growth, is success, is things that we can't even imagine sometimes because it hinders us so much.
Well, and that's why it's so important to surround yourself. Again, I've been harping on this with the right people. I mean, the people that are telling you can't do it and oh, you're going to fail. Those are the same people that are probably envious and they can't do it because they're too afraid and insecure. Yeah. So they're going to try to bring you down. I mean, there's a, I remember hearing this story about, there's a guy and his wife walking down the beach. And he's him and his wife are coming up on a guy who's just fishing from the beach. And he has this bucket of crabs. He has this bucket of crabs that he's just, catching crabs, put them in this bucket. And as this couple is passing this fisherman, the guy and his wife look around. They see this crab trying to get out of the bucket. And he says to the fisherman, he said, "Hey man, this crab is trying to get out of the bucket." And he said he won't get out of the bucket. He said, "Watch and see what happens." What do you think happened? The other crabs
pulled him back down.
So that's the negative influences in your life. Those are the people that are bringing you down. And I'm not saying you can't love them. I have family members that are toxic. I love them. I just don't want to hang out with them all the time.
Exactly. Right. No, understandable. Yeah. Well, so with that, how do you guide people who are trying to get out of those circles with the toxic, with the negative people? Like, do you just tell them, "Hey, cold turkey," or like get out, like drop it, or what?
No,
what's kind
I
of your
think
process?
you can do it in a way where, look, I mean, I don't, you don't want to, I mean, I think there's a way to do it and the way to kind of limit your time.
Yeah.
But I think you have to have those honest discussions with your family or friends or whoever you don't want to associate with. Look, I mean, that's part of, life. You have to have discussions. So I encourage people, look, whoever it is, you need to have a heart-to-heart with that person and say, "Look, I love you or I care about you, but I don't like your attitude. I don't like the toxicity that you bring to our relationship. And if you don't change," and some of them do, some of them don't, we're going to have to limit our time together. It is very difficult to do that, especially with family members.
Right.
But this goes back to loving yourself, brother. Your time is valuable. You don't have a lot of time here on earth. Why spend it with people who are bringing you down, who are toxic, and are negative. So it starts with having that. I'm not saying just cut them off cold turkey, but I think, especially with a family member or a close friend, I think you have to have those difficult conversations. And if you lose a friend, okay, I don't know. You probably don't need them in your life that much.
Were they really a friend? Yeah.
Were they helping you? Were they helping you grow? Family members a little tricky. Again, I have family members that I love dearly, and I've had those discussions with them. And I'm willing to kind of help them. And everybody can change. Everybody can do better. But some of them haven't, and I just really have to limit my time with them.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense. And again, I think some people are still in those circles because they are afraid to have those conversations. And so it's like you got a lot of growth and steps to take for sure. But
yeah, and the people that, like family members, it's not about love, because some of them will be like, you don't love me anymore. No, it's not about love. I love you. I just don't want to hang out with you all the time. You're toxic. You're negative. I don't like the negative energy. And you know what it feels like, that negative energy. Mm-hmm. You don't need that in your life. There's no law that says, well, because you're my brother, I have to listen to you and spend all this time with you. No, you don't have to. But that's how some people are conditioned as well. Their family, you just got to hang out with them and accept it. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have to accept it.
No, I think that's big. And again, just reiterating what you said is like, you can still love them.
Yeah.
But if you're not at the point to be able to guide them or kind of deflect that and show them the negativeness of their actions, then it's probably better to step away.
Yes.
Until you are. Yeah, for sure.
Remember the crabs, they're going to pull you down.
Yeah.
They're going to pull you down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been great. The evolve. I love that. I love that acronym. And I'm going to go over to just say them again. E is elevate. V, visualization. O, others. L, love yourself. V, victories. And E, every day be your best self. That is amazing. That's really a cool acronym to kind of go every day in.
I appreciate it. And, you can, if anybody wants a signed book, it's a little micro book.
Cool.
So, and awesome. I wrote these for first responders, military, but it's really for anybody. And if anybody wants a signed book, they can just go to my website. And you can also get a free ebook version of the book on my website, CJEvolution.com. So
awesome. And is that the best place people can find you, is CJEvolution?
Yeah, brother. Everything is right there. You mentioned my podcast. Thank you so much. We're almost hitting 400 episodes right now.
Oh, awesome.
And it's really taken off. I have amazing guests on the show. I'd love to have you on my show, brother, if you're interested.
Absolutely.
But I just have amazing guests from, thought leaders, best-selling authors, guys that hunted down bin Laden, the SEALs.
Wow.
That did that. So, I have, as a matter of fact, I have another show in a little bit with an ex-SEAL Team 6 commander. So he's going to come on the show. We're going to talk about leadership and being your best self. But everything is on CJEvolution.com. Podcast, speaking stuff. We're not doing a lot of speaking now for obvious reasons, but coaching definitely. And I'd love to hear from anybody out there, and I will respond.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, guys, definitely get connected. So CJEvolution, and the link will be in the show notes. Patrick, before we head out, I would love for you to answer this one question I ask of my guests, and it's the fifth trait of pencil leadership. So for those who don't know, that is a pencil was created for a purpose, and it's to leave a good mark on any surface that it's guided to write on. And so with that being said, when everything is said and done with you, or said and done for you here on Earth, what do you hope the mark you left is?
Great question, brother. It's in my name, evolution, to help those brave men and women who protect us every day, to get them to that next step by giving them the tools and the experience and the knowledge that, thank God I have, and I want to impart on them. And it's to make them better, both personally and professionally. So that's the hope. That's the mark I hope to leave on this great planet when I go.
That's awesome. I love it. I love the mission. And so again, thank you for what you have done, and thank you for what you're doing now.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah. And thanks for being on the show.
It was an excellent time. To keep doing a great job with your show, Chris.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you. So yeah, guys, if you like this show, if you're watching live or if you're replaying it, let me know in the comments. But share this with somebody who can get value of just building a successful mindset. Maybe someone in the service or in the law enforcement or first responder. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, rate, review the show. That just helps this message get in front of more people so we can leave a bigger mark on the world together. And until next time, let's go out and be pencil leaders.